So earlier today, the official Terraria account tweeted this out. Just a bit of Terraria news, no big deal. Attached to it is a gif of Don't Starve featuring the Eye of Cthulhu. Now for those not familiar with Don't Starve, it is a top-down survival game. It's a bit more hardcore than Terraria though. Don't Starve has a whole host of playable characters and bosses to fight. In this gif you can clearly see the Eye of Cthulhu, so most likely this will be a boss fight that gets added to Don't Starve. Also, it is potentially likely that we could see a character like the Guide or the Zoologist being added as a playable character to Don't Starve. There is no guarantee of this, so as we can only go off of what we see in the GIF. Now while this is pretty interesting, you're probably wondering why this tweet means a new update for Terraria is coming. Well, the developers of Don't Starve replied to the tweet, "Oops, I think we mixed something up somewhere. Oh well, I'm sure it will all sort itself out by next month." And attached is the following gif. Yeah, that's new content alright. So what are we looking at here? Well, that new enemy is probably going to be a new boss in Terraria. It is based on the Deerclops enemy from Don't Starve, which is a boss in that game. One thing you'll also notice is that the gif is in the snow biome and snow is falling. In Don't Starve, the Deerclops is fought during winter, so naturally we can speculate that most likely this boss will have to be summoned in the snow biome, and either it will require snow to be falling as heavily as it is in the gif, or summoning the Deerclops will cause the snow to fall heavily. The Deerclops in Don't Starve doesn't summon any enemies to help it, but I assume that they would probably add some unrelated enemies from Don't Starve to Terraria anyway, potentially similar to the Old Ones Army event. Now assuming it is like any other bosses in Terraria, it will also be added along with new cosmetics, weapons, and a mount and a pet. These new items will be themed around Don't Starve. In terms of cosmetics that would be added, it is quite likely they would add Wilson's beard from Don't Starve. It's kind of iconic for that game. If you haven't played Don't Starve before, Wilson is kind of the default first character that you can play as. The longer you play, the longer his beard will grow, and so it kind of makes sense to add this as a cosmetic to Terraria. There are some potential weapons that could be added from Don't Starve to Terraria. I think the most likely ones to be added are probably the Blunderbuss or the Morningstar. The Blunderbuss is in multiple Terraria mods, and I actually assumed it was already in vanilla, because it just seems like such an obvious pick for a firearm. A Blunderbuss in Terraria would basically behave like a shotgun, kind of like the shotgun called Shotgun that is already in Terraria. The Morningstar on the other hand is basically this stick with an electric ball on the end. It'll deal more damage to enemies that are already wet. It also acts as a light source. This could be quite useful in Terraria. It could be like a broadsword that glows and zaps enemies. The handback could also be potentially added to Terraria, but I have a hard time envisioning what could be unique about it in Terraria. I imagine it would just work like a regular broadsword type weapon. What are your predictions for the new items that might be added with the update? In Don't Starve, the Deerclops boss just kind of whacks you. That's like its only attack. Look at it. Bruh. I assume, like most Terraria bosses, it will have some kind of projectile attack. In Terraria, it will most likely shoot ice at you because, you know, winter? Crossovers aren't actually a new thing for Terraria. They have actually done some stuff like this before. One that most of you will probably recognize is the Dungeon Defenders crossover. Yeah, that entire Old Ones Army event is actually a crossover with Dungeon Defenders. Even the Tavernkeep NPC is from Dungeon Defenders. In return, Dungeon Defenders added the Dryad NPC to their game and a whole bunch of iconic Terraria weapons. Also, coincidentally, they added the Eye of Cthulhu as a boss along with a forest biome with demon eye enemies. Now of course, in hindsight, maybe Dungeon Defenders wasn't the best crossover idea for Terraria. I don't think Don't Starve will go as far as adding a whole new biome like Dungeon Defenders though, because that could interfere too much with the existing design of the game's progression. It would be kind of weird if demon eyes were potentially a common enemy in Don't Starve, but the demon eye could still appear during the Eye of Cthulhu's boss fight event. Another crossover they did was with Minecraft, but this was very small. They added a creeper cosmetic set to Terraria, and in return Minecraft just added text on the main menu referencing Terraria. Man, they really got scammed on this one. Probably the most interesting crossover though, and the one that many of you wouldn't have realized, is the yo-yos. These 9 yo-yos are all based on real life ones that are actually sold by the One Drop company. In return, the same company made yo-yos based on the Terrarian and the Kraken from the game, which is pretty cool. A month from now when this update drops, I'll probably make a video covering it, so if you're interested in that, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be notified when it is uploaded. Who would have thought that Terraria would get another final update? How long will this continue? Long after human civilization has collapsed, will they still continue to release final updates for Terraria? Machines long left abandoned by their human creators at Relogic, designed to perpetually release final updates for a long forgotten game. Updates pushed to lonely servers and downloaded onto lonely computers. Maybe we will leave behind a race of intelligent machines that will continue to enjoy the new final updates for Terraria, long after our flame has been extinguished through the fires of war or through the fires of the climate. It is an uncertain future, but one that will not be without Terraria. So to summarize everything that happened recently, Don't Starve and Terraria are both getting a crossover update next month. These are both guaranteed to add at least one new boss to each game. Don't Starve will be getting an Eye of Cthulhu Cthulhu boss, Terraria will be getting a Deerclops boss. Most likely the Deerclops will come with new weapons, cosmetics, a mount and a pet, because every Terraria boss usually has these items. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.